Welcome back, Nature World Mustangs. This is Mrs. Harris in my kitchen lab, and today we're going to talk about mixtures and solutions. And mixtures are a combination of solids, liquids, and gases. We use them every day. If you had a salad today, you had a mixture. If you had lemonade, you probably had a solution. So, especially if lemonade should be sweet, so you had a solution. So today we're going to talk a little bit about when you combine two ingredients together and you can separate the original properties, then we call it a mixture. When two ingredients do not physically separate, then we call it a solution. Okay? So today you're going to experiment with different items and then figure out how to separate them, and is it a mixture or is it a solution? So you have to think about that, and that'll give you a little practice. So we're going to do two together, but for your experiment you're going to need 4 cups, and it can be any type of cup that you have around the house. You're going to need a measuring cup so you can measure exactly half a cup of liquid, which is, in this case, our solvent is going to be water, which is our liquid. And then you're going to need a teaspoon, and you're going to need your solutes, which is what you're going to be testing out. So we're going to test right now together some sugar, here you go, and some lentils, okay? So we're going to test those out together. But for your experiment in your lab, in your own kitchen lab, you're going to test out some coffee. Please ask your parents if you can have some coffee to test out. If you have sand, I'd like you to test out sand. If you don't have sand, go ahead and test out something like beans or lentils if you have them around the house. Some rice, you should have some rice around the house. You're going to need a little bit of that. You're also going to need some salt, okay? So I want you to test those out. Make sure that you talk to your parents when you're doing this experiment, and make sure that you have some supervision. You're also going to need a pan if you want to maybe look at the process of evaporation, which is one of the ways that we can separate mixtures and solutions. I'm going to do that a little bit here. Hopefully it'll complete before we're done today. Yeah, of course you're going to need some water. I have a strainer, a small strainer. If you have that, you can use that. You can also use a paper towel, okay, to use to separate your mixtures and your solutions. All right, I think that's about everything. You will also need some maybe sticky notes or just a paper and some tape that you can stick in front of your cup so you know what you have in your cups, okay? So we're going to get started. I'm going to put my solute, which is what I want to dissolve. In this case, some sugar. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of sugar. And there it is, boys and girls. And then my lentils. Okay. And I'm going to add my solvent, in this case, the water. Remember, we're using half a cup. Make sure that we keep that scientific method. Making sure we. There we go. Okay. Now, if I want to separate my sugar or my lentils, there's different ways to separate things. I can use magnets. I can use evaporation. I can use filtering. And there's other things that you can do. So filtering, maybe sifters. So I have to think of ways that I can separate these items. So first thing I'm going to do is mix my sugar with my water. So my solute, which is my sugar, with my solvent, which is my water. And water, by the way, boys and girls, is the universal solvent. So, pretty cool. All right. And I'm going to rinse my spoon. And then I'm going to mix my lentils. And I'm going to think about what process process will I have to use in order to separate these? Well, I'm going to begin with my sugar. As you can see, boys and girls, it's all incorporated into the water. So I don't know how I could separate those. The only way that I can think of that I could do that is by maybe evaporation. So I'm going to try that. I have a pan right here. Put my entire mixture. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it on the stove while we're talking. So give me a second. Alright. Now if I want to separate my lentils, then I can use something like a strainer right here. And as you can see, my lentils, my solute can be separated from my solvent, which is the water. Okay? So there's different ways that we can separate our mixtures and solutions. Okay? So that's what I want you to think about when you're doing your experiment. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take your sticky notes, which I've already written all over them, to make sure that I have them. I think I got all of them. Okay, so I have a sticky note for sand, for salt, for coffee, and for rice. So your challenge, boys and girls, is going to be to go ahead and take your 2 tablespoons of rice, your 2 tablespoons of salt, make sure that you're using salt. That's the salt. And I can hear my pan working over there. Your 2 tablespoons of coffee. Make sure you ask your parents if you can have a little bit of coffee to test out your in use in your experiment. And last, I had sand, so I got lucky. 2 tablespoons of sand. So there you go. Your rice, your salt, your coffee, and your sand. If you don't have sand, like I said, use something like lentils or beans, something that you have in your refrigerator or in your pantry that can accommodate your experiment. So you're going to need your solvent. Your solvent's going to be water. Remember, you're going to just use a half a cup of water in each of these items or each of these solutes. Okay? And I want you to think about what are you going to have to do to separate them. So, you can use evaporation. Maybe you can use a strainer, or maybe you have to use a filter, or maybe a screen, maybe a paper towel, if you don't have a filter, a coffee filter. So just think about how you can separate those mixtures, okay, and solutions. That's going to be your challenge. I'm going to send this video to your teachers, and you're going to have to let us know what your results are for your rice, your salt, your coffee, and your sand. Think about your scientific method. Think about the process in which you're going to have to utilize to be able to separate all of these items. Okay? And let me check on our sugar and see what's happening with that. don't think that you're going to be able to tell, boys and girls, but it is almost completely dissolved. I can see the evaporation process happening, but I don't have enough of a result to show you. So you're going to have to tell me what happens if you have to try anything like this at home. Make sure that if you try to evaporate anything, that you get your parents' permission and help. All right, boys and girls, we'll see you later, and I'll be excited to see your results.